Sign it.
You really want me to sign this? Fine. But before you sign yours, there's something you should know.
What?
I was pregnant when you abandoned me.
You were what?
Pregnant!
Why didn't you tell me?
I tried!
Mara, what happened? What happened to our baby?
You're 6 months too late.
Mara, wait.
Please.
Just tell me what happened.
Ask the people you trusted more than me.
Mara had once believed that marrying Ethan Kwan meant she would never have to be afraid again. She had been wrong. Ethan was the chairman of Kwan Meridian, a company that controlled hotels, shipping contracts, construction firms, and enough private security operations to make powerful people think twice before crossing him. Outside business circles, another name followed him, the Wolf of Seoul. Nobody knew exactly how the nickname started. Nobody dared ask. He was 36, always dressed in dark suits, always surrounded by men who watched every doorway before he entered a room. But Mara had known a different Ethan, or at least she thought she had. 3 years earlier, he had found her restoring an old wooden cabinet inside a small antique shop in Busan. She had been 27, covered in sawdust, arguing with the shop owner about a damaged 18th century table. Ethan had watched her for almost 10 minutes before speaking. "You're going to ruin it." Mara had turned around. "Excuse me?" "The wood." She narrowed her eyes. "You're an expert now?" "No." "Then keep walking." He had smiled. That smile had been the beginning. Within 8 months, they were married. For the first year, Ethan had been everything she never expected. He remembered small things. The tea she liked. The music she played while working. The way she hated thunderstorms. He once drove across the city at 2 in the morning because she had casually mentioned craving strawberry cake. Mara had believed she had found a man beneath the armor. Then, everything changed. It happened slowly. That was what made it worse. Ethan started coming home later. Then he stopped explaining where he had been. Then his phone became something he guarded like a state secret. Mara asked questions. He gave her silence. She tried again. He became irritated. Eventually, she stopped asking. Then came the night that broke whatever was left. Mara had prepared dinner for their anniversary. She had cooked his favorite meal herself. She even bought the wine he liked. At 11:47 p.m., she was still sitting at the table. At 1:16 a.m., the front door finally opened. Ethan walked inside. Mara stood. "You're home." He removed his coat. "Yes." She stared at him. "Do you know what today is?" He paused, then looked at the table. "I've had a long night, Mara." Her smile disappeared. "Our anniversary." "I know." "No, you don't." He said. "Please don't start." Something inside her cracked. "Don't start?" "Mara." "I waited 4 hours. I didn't ask you to." The words came out casually, almost carelessly, but they destroyed her. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay." She blew out the candles. That night, she cried in the bathroom so quietly that he never knew. 3 weeks later, she discovered she was pregnant. Mara sat alone on the bathroom floor, staring at the test in her trembling hand. 2 lines. She laughed. Then she cried. Then she laughed again. She wanted to tell him immediately, but she decided to surprise him. She bought tiny white socks. She wrapped them in a small box, and she waited. The next evening, Ethan called. "I won't be home." Mara froze. "Tonight?" "Yes. I thought we could talk." "About what?" She looked at the little box sitting beside her. "Nothing." "Mara, I've got work." He hung up. She stared at the phone. The next morning, Ethan's head of security arrived at the house. "Mara." She looked up. "Mr. Kwan wants you to stay inside today." "Why?" "Security concerns." "What security concerns?" "I wasn't told." "Did Ethan tell you?" The man hesitated. "Yes." "Then tell him I want to speak to him." "I can't." "You can't?" "He's unavailable." That word again. Unavailable. Mara looked toward the window. A black SUV was parked outside. Another vehicle waited across the street. She suddenly understood something. She wasn't being protected. She was being watched. That afternoon, Mara went to her studio anyway. She needed air. She needed somewhere Ethan's silence couldn't reach her. But when she arrived, she noticed a black sedan parked across the street. It remained there for 3 hours. When she left, it followed. Mara tried to convince herself it was coincidence, until the sedan followed her home. That night, she confronted Ethan. "Are you having me followed?" He didn't look up from his laptop. "No." Then why has a black sedan been outside my studio all day? His fingers stopped moving. Where did you go? Mara stared at him. That's your answer? Where did you go? Tell me, studio. You shouldn't have left the house. Why? Because I told you not to. She laughed bitterly. You don't even hear yourself anymore. Ethan finally looked at her. I am trying to keep you alive. And I'm trying to understand why being your wife feels like being your prisoner. His jaw tightened. You don't understand my world. Then explain it. Silence. Mara's eyes filled with tears. That's what I've been begging you to do. She stepped closer. I don't need your money. I don't need your guards. I don't need your mansion. Her voice broke. I need my husband. Ethan looked away. That hurt more than anything. Mara placed one hand over her stomach. He didn't notice. She waited for him to look. He never did. So she whispered the words he would later wish he had heard. There's someone else who needs you too. Ethan's phone rang. He answered immediately. Yes? Mara watched his expression change. She waited. But whatever he heard on that phone call was more important than her. He walked out of the room. She stood there alone. And that was the moment Mara decided she was finished begging. She would leave. But she wouldn't tell him everything. Not yet. Because 2 days later, she went to the doctor. And the doctor gave her news that changed everything. Mara, Dr. Helen Park said carefully, I need you to stay calm. Mara's fingers tightened around the chair. What's wrong? The doctor looked at the scan, then back at her. There is a problem. Mara's heart began pounding. What kind of problem? Dr. Park lowered her voice. The pregnancy is no longer progressing normally. Mara stared at her. No. I'm sorry. No. Check again. Mara. Check again. The doctor took her hand. I already did. Mara looked at the screen. The room suddenly felt too quiet. She couldn't hear anything. Not the machine. Not the doctor. Not even her own breathing. She whispered, Can he be saved? Dr. Park's eyes filled with sadness. We need to get you to the hospital. Mara shook her head. No. You need treatment. I need to call my husband. She grabbed her phone. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped it. She called Ethan. Once. No answer. Again. No answer. A third time. Someone finally picked up Mr. Kwan's phone. Mara swallowed. Who is this? You can't speak to him. I need my husband. He's in a meeting. Tell him it's an emergency. There was a pause. Then the voice said coldly, Mrs. Kwan, whatever it is, it can wait. The line went dead. Mara stared at the phone. And for the first time, she understood that whatever was happening inside Ethan's world was bigger than their marriage. Someone had decided she didn't deserve to reach him. And someone had just made the biggest mistake of their life. Because Mara Bennett was done waiting, she looked at Dr. Park. Take me to the hospital. Outside, the same black sedan was waiting. Mara didn't notice it, but someone inside did. And before the hospital doors closed behind her, a phone call was already being made. She knows something. A man's voice answered from the other end. Then make sure she doesn't get the chance to tell him. The hospital doors slammed shut behind Mara. She barely made it 3 steps before her knees gave way. Dr. Park caught her. Easy. Mara, look at me. Mara's fingers clutched the doctor's coat. Please. I've got you. Please don't let them take my baby. Dr. Park's expression tightened. We're going to do everything we can. A nurse rushed toward them with a wheelchair. Mara sat, but she couldn't stop shaking. Behind the glass doors, the black sedan remained parked across the street. Inside it, a man lifted his phone. She made it into the hospital. A pause. Then the voice on the other end answered. Then we wait. The man frowned. And if she tells Kwan? She won't. How do you know? The voice became colder. Because by the time she leaves that hospital, she won't know what to believe. Inside the emergency room, Mara was taken behind a curtain. Dr. Park stayed beside her. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. Mara looked at her. Is the baby? We need another scan. Tell me the truth. Dr. Park hesitated. Mara's eyes filled. Please don't protect me with lies. I have had enough of that. The doctor looked down. We're losing the pregnancy. Mara stopped breathing. For several seconds, she simply stared at the ceiling. Then she whispered, No. Dr. Park squeezed her hand. Mara, no. Her voice cracked. I haven't even told him. I know. He doesn't know. I know. Mara turned her face toward the wall. Then call him. I already tried. No. Call him again. Dr. Park reached for the phone. Mara watched her dial. The call rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then someone answered. Hello? This is Dr. Park. I'm calling about Mara Bennett. Silence. She's been admitted to the hospital. The voice on the other end changed. Who gave you this number? Her husband. No, you have the wrong number. The call ended. Dr. Park slowly lowered the phone. Mara stared at her. What did he say? He said I had the wrong number. Mara closed her eyes. That wasn't possible. She knew Ethan's number. She had called it hundreds of times. So why had someone answered? And why had they pretended not to know her? Dr. Park noticed something on Mara's face. What is it? Mara opened her eyes. Someone is lying to me. Before the doctor could respond, a nurse rushed in. Doctor, we need you. Dr. Park stood. I'll be right back. Mara grabbed her wrist. Don't leave me. The doctor squeezed her hand. I won't. But she was gone for less than a minute when another nurse entered. Mrs. Kwan? Mara looked up. Yes? We need to move you. Where? Another room. Why? The nurse avoided her eyes. Your husband requested additional privacy. Mara's stomach tightened. My husband? Yes. When did he call? The nurse hesitated. Just now. Mara started her. That can't be true. The nurse looked confused. I'm sorry? He doesn't know I'm here. The woman's face changed. Mara saw it. Fear. Just for a second. Then it disappeared. I'll get the doctor. She turned around. Mara grabbed her wrist. Wait. The nurse froze. Who told you my husband called? The woman swallowed. I was told. By whom? I don't know. Mara released her. The nurse hurried away. Mara lay there staring at the ceiling. Something was wrong. Not just with Ethan. With everyone around him. Hours later, Mara woke to darkness. The pain had become dull. Heavy. Empty. She turned her head. Dr. Park sat beside the bed. The doctor didn't need to speak. Mara already knew. She looked down at her stomach. Then at the empty chair beside the bed. Did he come? Dr. Park lowered her eyes. No. Mara laughed once. It wasn't a happy sound. Of course. He doesn't know what happened. Mara looked at her. He knows enough. No, Mara. I mean, he genuinely doesn't know. Then who answered his phone? I don't know. And who told the hospital he requested privacy? I don't know. Mara stared at the window. Outside, rain had begun falling. Then find out. Dr. Park frowned. What? Find out who called. Mara. I need the truth. The doctor studied her, then nodded. I'll try. 3 days later, Mara returned home. Ethan was still away. There was a vase of white roses waiting in the foyer. She stared at them. No card. No message. Nothing. She walked upstairs. The little box containing the baby socks was still beside the bed. She picked it up. Her hands trembled. She opened it. The tiny socks stared back at her. Mara pressed them against her chest and finally broke. She cried until there was nothing left in her. Then she wiped her face. She placed the socks back in the box and made a decision. She wasn't going to tell Ethan. Not yet, because she wanted to know why his phone had been answered. She wanted to know who had kept him away, and she wanted to know why someone had been following her. That evening, she opened her laptop. She checked her email. There was one message from an unknown address. No subject, just one sentence. Stop asking questions about the night you went to the hospital. Mara's blood ran cold. She stared at the screen. Then another message appeared. Your husband cannot protect you from everyone. She immediately took a screenshot, then forwarded it to herself. Someone knocked. Mara slammed the laptop shut. Who is it? It's me, Ethan. Her heart stopped. She opened the door. Ethan stood there, still wearing his black suit. He looked exhausted. His eyes went immediately to her face. What happened? Mara said nothing. He stepped closer. Why didn't you tell me you were sick? She stared at him. Who told you? He frowned. What? Who told you I was in the hospital? I found out yesterday. From who? Mara, what is this? Answer me. Ethan's jaw tightened. I heard from the hospital. No. What? The hospital said you called. I didn't. Mara's expression changed. Ethan noticed. What are you talking about? Someone called pretending to be you. His face hardened. When? The day I was admitted. Who answered my phone? I don't know. Who told the hospital you wanted privacy? I don't know. Ethan stepped into the room. Tell me everything. Mara stared at him. I lost the baby. The room went silent. Ethan didn't move. What? Mara's eyes filled. You heard me. His face slowly lost its color. You were pregnant. When? For 9 weeks. He stared at her. Why didn't you tell me? Mara laughed bitterly. I tried. When? The night you didn't come home. He looked away. Mara. No. She stepped closer. I called you from the hospital. I never got a call. Exactly. Ethan's eyes snapped back to hers. What? Someone answered your phone. His expression changed completely. Who? I don't know. Did you recognize the voice? No. Male? Yes. Anything else? Mara hesitated. He knew your name. Ethan's face became unreadable. Anything else? He told me you were unavailable. Ethan slowly reached for his phone. He called someone. Yin. A man's voice answered immediately. Sir, come to the house. Is everything... Now. He hung up. Mara watched him. Who is Jin? My security chief. You trust him? Ethan looked at her. Yes. She swallowed. I trusted you too. That sentence hit harder than anything else. Ethan lowered his phone. I know. No, you don't. Mara turned away. You have no idea what it felt like to lie in a hospital bed knowing my husband was somewhere in this city and couldn't even be reached. I would have come. But you didn't. I didn't know. That's the point. He stepped toward her. Mara, listen to me. If someone intercepted my calls, if someone used my name, you still abandoned me. I didn't. You did. His voice softened. I didn't know you needed me. She turned around. How could you not know? Ethan froze. You were my husband, she continued. I didn't need a security detail. I didn't need a mansion. I needed you to answer your phone. He had no answer. Mara wiped a tear from her cheek. I signed the divorce papers because I finally understood something. What? You didn't have to stop loving me for me to leave. Ethan stared at her. You only had to keep making me feel alone. A knock came from downstairs. Ethan looked toward the door. Jin entered a moment later. Sir, close the door. Jin did. Ethan held up his phone. Someone has been using my number. Jin's face changed. What happened? Find out. Jin nodded. Ethan looked at Mara. And find out who authorized the hospital call. Jin hesitated. Sir, what? There is something else. Mara looked between them. What? Jin reached into his jacket and pulled out a photograph. He placed it on the table. Mara picked it up. Her face went pale. It showed the black sedan outside her studio. She turned it over. There was a date written on the back. The same day she had discovered she was pregnant. Mara looked at Ethan. Why were they following me? Ethan stared at the photograph. I don't know. Jin spoke quietly. But I know the vehicle. Ethan looked at him. Whose is it? Jin took a breath. It belongs to one of our companies. The room went completely silent. Mara's fingers loosened. The photograph slipped onto the table. Ethan stared at it. That's impossible. I checked twice. Who signed the lease? Jin looked at Mara, then at Ethan. The authorization came from inside your office. Ethan's eyes hardened. Give me the name. Jin hesitated. Sir. No. Jin swallowed. The authorization was approved by your executive advisor. Ethan's expression changed. Who? Jin lowered his voice. Adrian Kwon. Mara looked at Ethan. Your brother? Ethan didn't answer. Because suddenly the silence of the last 11 months had a face. And somewhere inside his own company, someone had been watching his wife. Someone had intercepted his calls. Someone had known about the pregnancy. And someone had made sure Ethan never heard her ask for help. Ethan picked up the photograph. His voice became frighteningly calm. Jin. Yes, sir? Don't confront Adrian. Why? Because if he did this? Ethan looked at Mara. He already knows we're suspicious. Mara's eyes widened. Ethan walked toward the window. Outside, another black vehicle had just stopped across the street. The same vehicle, the same tinted windows, the same feeling of being watched. Mara whispered, Ethan. He turned. Get away from the window. She froze. Why? Because that car wasn't there when I arrived. The lights suddenly switched off. Ethan's phone vibrated. One message. No number. He opened it. His face changed. Mara noticed. What does it say? He didn't answer. She walked toward him. Ethan. He finally turned the screen toward her. There was only one sentence. You should have left her alone. And beneath it was a photograph. A photograph taken less than 5 minutes earlier. Mara and Ethan were standing together inside the room. Someone had been watching them. From somewhere very close, Ethan immediately reached for his weapon. Mara grabbed his arm. Don't. He looked at her. Stay behind me. No. Mara. I spent months being protected while nobody told me the truth. She looked toward the dark window. I'm done hiding. And somewhere outside, a car engine started. Then another. Ethan looked at Jen. Lock the house. Jen pulled out his phone. But before he could make the call, every light in the mansion went out. Mara's breath caught. In the darkness, a single sound came from upstairs. A door slowly opening. Ethan whispered, "Someone's already inside." The door upstairs opened another inch. Ethan raised one hand. "Stay here." Mara shook her head. "No. Mara, this isn't the time to argue. I've spent 11 months being told to stay behind you." A heavy sound came from above. Then a man's footsteps moved across the hallway. Jin drew his weapon. "Sir, there are at least two." Ethan looked at him. "How do you know?" "Because I heard one on the stairs." A second footstep sounded. Then the house went completely silent. Ethan motioned toward the staircase. Jin moved first. Mara followed despite Ethan's warning. They reached the bottom of the stairs when a figure appeared at the landing. A gun flashed. "Down!" Ethan grabbed Mara and pulled her behind the wall as the shot cracked through the house. Jin fired back. The intruder disappeared. Mara's heart hammered. "Ethan, are you hurt?" "No. Stay here. I'm coming with you." He looked at her for half a second. Then he nodded. "Fine. Stay behind me." They moved upstairs. The bedroom door was open. Inside, drawers had been pulled apart. Mara's old belongings were scattered across the floor. Ethan stopped. What were they looking for? Mara looked around. Then her eyes landed on the wardrobe. "My documents." "What documents?" She swallowed. "The medical records." Ethan's expression hardened. "Where are they?" "I kept them in a locked drawer." He crossed the room. The drawer had been forced open. Empty. Mara's face went pale. "They took them." Jin entered behind them. "Sir." Ethan turned. "Find them." A crash came from downstairs. Jin ran toward the sound. Ethan grabbed Mara's hand. "Come." They hurried down the hallway. A man in black jumped from behind the staircase. Ethan tackled him before he could raise his weapon. The two men slammed against the wall. Mara backed away. Jin arrived seconds later and disarmed the intruder. Ethan grabbed the man's collar. "Who sent you?" The man smiled through blood on his lip. "You're already too late." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Who sent you?" The man laughed. "You should ask your brother." Ethan froze. Mara felt her stomach drop. "Adrian?" The man's smile disappeared. Ethan immediately understood. He pulled the man's phone from his pocket. There was one recent message. "Get the records. Nothing else matters." Ethan stared at the screen. "What records?" The man said nothing. Ethan turned toward Mara. "Where did you keep the original?" She hesitated. "Why?" "Because they already know about the medical records." Mara stared at him. "I don't have them anymore." "Where are they?" "I gave them to Dr. Park." Ethan looked at Jen. "Get her." Jin nodded. But before he could move, Mara's phone rang. "Dr. Park." Mara answered immediately. "Doctor?" There was no greeting, only frantic breathing. "Mara." "What's wrong?" "I found something." Mara looked at Ethan. "What?" "I shouldn't say this over the phone." "Where are you?" The doctor hesitated. "I'm at the clinic." "Stay there." "I can't." "Why?" "Because someone broke into my office." Mara's blood went cold. "What did they take?" "The file." Ethan stepped closer. "Put it on speaker." Mara did. Dr. Park's voice trembled. "They took your pregnancy records, but they left one thing behind." "What?" "A copy of the hospital admission log." Ethan's face hardened. "Read it." Dr. Park hesitated. "Someone signed into the hospital system using Ethan's authorization." Mara stared at her husband. Ethan's jaw tightened. "What name?" "Adrian Kwan." Silence. The man Ethan had spent his entire life trusting had used his authority to control what happened to his wife. Ethan looked at the intruder. "You're going to tell me where Adrian is?" The man smiled. "You still don't understand." "Explain it." "Adrian wasn't trying to hurt your wife." Mara stepped forward. "He caused the accident." The man's eyes shifted toward her. "He was trying to scare you." "Why?" "Because he wanted you to leave." "Leave Ethan?" "Yes." Mara's voice shook. "Why?" The man laughed. Because as long as you were his wife, Adrian couldn't take the company. Ethan went completely still. Mara looked at him. What does that mean? Ethan didn't answer. The man continued. Your marriage was never just a marriage. Ethan grabbed him again. Talk. Adrian needed the board to believe you were unstable, distracted, weak. And Mara? He wanted her gone. Mara whispered. So the divorce was the point. Ethan's face darkened. The man looked directly at Mara. He knew you'd eventually leave. Mara's eyes filled with tears. He knew about the baby? The man didn't answer. She stepped closer. Did he know? Yes. Her lips parted. How? He had someone watching you. Mara closed her eyes. The pain that came over her wasn't shock anymore. It was betrayal. Not from Ethan this time. From the man she had never even suspected. Ethan looked at Jin. Take him downstairs. Jin dragged the man away. Ethan turned to Mara. I swear to you I didn't know. She stared at him. I believe you. He looked surprised. But that doesn't erase what happened. I know. I lost our child. I know. And while I was lying in that hospital bed, your brother was planning to destroy our marriage. Ethan's voice broke. I should have protected you. Mara shook her head. No. He looked at her. You should have trusted me. That hurt more. She walked toward the stairs. Ethan followed. Mara. She stopped. I want a divorce. He closed his eyes. You already asked for it. And now I'm asking again. But why? Because I don't know who you are anymore. He looked at her. You don't have to know. I do. She wiped her cheek. I married a man. Somewhere along the way, I became the wife of a company, the protected possession of a dangerous man, and the last person anyone thought deserved the truth. Ethan said nothing. Mara continued. I don't want your money. I know. I don't want your house. I know. I don't even want revenge. He looked at her. What do you want? Mara took a breath. The truth. Ethan nodded. Then I'll give it to you. His phone rang. Yin. Ethan answered. Sir, we have a problem. What? The prisoner is gone. Ethan's face hardened. How? The basement cameras were disabled. Mara looked at him. Adrian? I don't know. Then Jin added. There was another message. Ethan waited. What does it say? Jin's voice lowered. It says, ask your wife what she saw before the hospital. Mara froze. Ethan turned toward her. What does that mean? She couldn't answer. Because suddenly, a memory came rushing back. The night she was taken to the hospital, the black sun, the rain, the headlights behind her, and a man standing beside the road. Mara had seen him. She had seen his face. But she had been too terrified to remember. Until now, she whispered, I know who was driving. Ethan stepped closer. Who? Mara looked directly into his eyes. Your mother. Ethan stopped breathing. My mother is dead. I know. Mara's voice trembled. But the woman I saw that night, she swallowed. She looked exactly like her. Ethan stared at Mara. My mother died 12 years ago. I know. Then what are you saying? Mara's voice shook. I'm saying the woman I saw wasn't your mother, but she looked exactly like her. Ethan's expression changed. Describe her. Dark coat, gray hair, same height, same face. Did she speak? Mara hesitated. She said one thing. What? She told the driver. Make sure he never finds out. Ethan's breathing slowed. What driver? I couldn't see his face. Jin rushed back into the room. Sir. Ethan turned. Find everything about my mother's old security team. Jin frowned. Your mother? Everything. 12 years ago until now. Jin nodded and left. Mara watched Ethan. You think she's alive? No. Then who was that woman? Ethan looked toward the dark window. Someone wants me to believe she is. A phone rang downstairs. Everyone froze. Jin returned with a phone in his hand. It's Adrian. Ethan took it. Where are you? Adrian laughed softly. You finally understand. Understand what? That the woman you married was never the real problem. Ethan's eyes narrowed. You used my wife. No, I used your weakness. You almost got her killed. I needed you angry. You caused her miscarriage. I didn't know she was pregnant. You knew enough to destroy her. There was silence. Then Adrian said, Do you know why your mother died? Ethan's face went pale. Mara stepped closer. Adrian continued, Because she discovered what your father had been doing with the company. Ethan said nothing. Your father wasn't the businessman everyone thought he was. He built the organization. Your mother found out. She tried to expose him. And she disappeared. My father said she died. Your father lied. Ethan's hand tightened around the phone. Where's my mother? Adrian laughed. Ask the woman who raised you. The call ended. Mara looked at him. What did he mean? Ethan didn't answer. He walked toward the study. Mara followed. He opened an old safe hidden behind a painting. Inside were documents he hadn't touched in years. His mother's photographs, old company records, a sealed envelope. Ethan picked it up. His name was written across the front in his mother's handwriting. Mara started. You've had that all this time? I never knew it was here. He opened it. Inside was a single letter. Ethan read the first line. His hands began to shake. Ethan, if you're reading this, then someone has finally found the truth I spent years trying to bury. Mara moved closer. He continued reading. Your father was not protecting this family. He was protecting himself. Ethan's eyes widened. The letter explained everything. His mother had discovered that Ethan's father was using the company's legitimate businesses to move money through secret networks. She had threatened to expose him. He had threatened her. Then she disappeared. The woman everyone believed had died in a car accident had actually been placed into hiding. Ethan looked at Mara. All these years. Mara touched his arm. What does it say? He continued. Then he found the name. Adrian. Mara's eyes widened. Your brother? Ethan shook his head. No. He read the final line. Adrian is not your brother. The room went silent. Mara stared at him. What? Ethan looked at the old photograph. Adrian had been standing beside Ethan's father in it. But there was something strange. A date. Hospital record. A birth certificate. Everything suddenly connected. Adrian was Ethan's father's son from another woman. He had spent years pretending to be family because Ethan's father had promised him control of the company. Ethan sat down. For the first time, he looked completely defeated. Mara knelt beside him. What are you going to do? He looked at her. And it. With Adrian? With everything. Mara started. You mean the organization? Yes. You're willing to walk away? I already lost the only person who mattered because I was afraid of losing everything else. Mara's eyes filled. Ethan. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. But she didn't hold him either. I still want the divorce. I know. I don't know if I can forgive you. I know. And I don't know if I can love you the way I did. Ethan nodded. Then don't. She looked at him. Don't? Don't force yourself to love me. His voice cracked. Just let me become someone you don't have to be afraid of. For the first time that night, Mara saw something different in his eyes. Not control. Not anger. Regret. Real regret. 3 weeks later, Adrian was arrested. The evidence was enough to expose his crimes. Ethan dismantled the network his father had built. He resigned from several positions. He sold properties tied to the illegal operations. He gave testimony against people he had once called allies. But none of it brought back the child Mara had lost. None of it erased the hospital room. None of it changed the nights she had cried alone. And Ethan finally understood that redemption wasn't a transaction. He couldn't buy forgiveness. He had to earn trust. Months passed. Mara built her restoration business. She moved into a small apartment above her workshop. Ethan never tried to stop her. He never sent guards, never demanded visits. He simply showed up when she allowed him to. One rainy evening, he brought her a cup of coffee. She looked at it. You remembered. I remember everything now. She smiled faintly. That's a dangerous thing to say. I know. They sat in silence. Then Mara spoke. I've signed the final divorce papers. Ethan's face fell. I understand. She placed the document on the table. You need to sign. He picked up the pen. For a moment, he stared at her. Then he signed. He pushed the papers back. Mara looked at him. You didn't fight. No. Why? Because loving you means respecting what you choose. Her eyes filled with tears. He stood. I'll leave you alone. He turned toward the door. Ethan. He stopped. Mara looked at him for a long time. The marriage is over. He nodded. I know. But he waited. I don't want to forget everything good about us. He turned around. She continued. I don't know what happens next. Neither do I. And I don't want promises. Okay. I want time. I'll give you time. She nodded. Then go. He left. For the first time in years, Ethan walked away without trying to control what happened next. 1 year later, Mara stood inside her restored studio. Sunlight came through the windows. Her business had grown. She had 12 employees. Her name was now respected among restoration experts across the country. She was no longer known as Ethan Kwan's wife. She was Mara Bennett, and she liked that. The bell above the door rang. She looked up. Ethan stood there. No guards, no expensive suit, just a simple dark shirt and a small box in his hand. "You're early," she said. "I know." She smiled. "What did you bring?" He placed the box on the table. "I wasn't sure if I should." Mara opened it. Inside were the tiny baby socks she had bought a year earlier. Clean, carefully preserved. She looked at him. "You kept them." "I couldn't throw them away." Neither spoke. Then Mara reached into her bag. She pulled out a small envelope. Ethan stared. "What is that?" She smiled through tears. "A letter." His expression changed. "Another one?" "Yes." He looked afraid. She handed it to him. "Read it now." His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside were only a few words. "I think I'm ready to try again." Ethan looked up. Mara was crying. "So am I," he whispered. She shook her head. "Don't promise me forever." "I won't." "Don't tell me you'll protect me." "I won't." "Then what will you do?" Ethan stepped closer. "I'll listen." Mara smiled. That might be enough. He reached for her hand. This time she gave it willingly. And for the first time there were no guards standing between them. No secrets. No locked doors. No unanswered calls. Just two people standing in the quiet aftermath of everything they had survived. Mara rested her head against his chest. Ethan closed his eyes. The child they had lost would always be part of their story. The marriage they had destroyed would never return. But something new could begin. Something honest. Something chosen. Something that didn't need fear to survive. And sometimes, the person who reads your final letter isn't the person you expected to save you. Sometimes the letter simply forces both people to finally face the truth. Mara had thought leaving Ethan would be the end of their story. Instead, it became the moment they finally stopped lying to each other. If this story touched you, tell me in the comments. Would you forgive someone who truly loved you but failed you when you needed them most? And if you stayed until the end, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more stories about love, betrayal, secrets, and second chances. Because sometimes the hardest thing isn't walking away. Sometimes it's deciding whether the person who broke your heart deserves the chance to rebuild your trust.